this is the 5th game design lesson in the Year 9 game design unit, and it's all about planning your game. So far we've had several skills lessons. You've learned how to produce a scrolling background, how to produce a flying object that is under the influence of gravity. You've learned how to produce a shooter for that particular flying object, and you've also learned how to produce some baddie objects that fly in from the other side and repeatedly do so and disappear when hit, and score goes up by 1. And you've also learned how to program levels. So there's a huge amount of skills, huge amount of game elements that you have learnt how to program. So now it's time to put all of that together to produce your own computer game, your own scrolling background game. Now, in terms of design work, you'll see here that we've got 2 examples of design work, and there should be something that's really strikingly different between the 2. And the main thing it really is detail. In the first example, the detail is not fantastic. It's not clear exactly what it is that each of the scenes are going to have, or what they're meant to do. We don't really know how we're progressing through the game. There's no annotation to explain what's happening, whereas in the second example there's a lot of annotation. The drawings are much more detailed. It's quite clear what's going on. So detail is a really important part of design work. So in today's lesson, I want us to understand how to plan and design your own computer game, and also understand what makes a successful game within this particular Year 9 project. And for it to be a successful lesson, I want you to decide on the objectives and theme of your own computer game that you're going to build, and also to design each level, the characters and any scoring items that you're going to have. Now, annotation is an important word that we need to understand. I've used it before. It's really just labeling the features of your design, labeling the features of the game, the different sprites and what they do. Success criteria, we're just saying what your game has to have for it to be successful. And objectives, well, that's the aim or the purpose of the game or a particular level. So, like I said before, you've had several skills-based lessons. You've learned how to produce scrolling backgrounds, how to program movement and gravity, how to produce scoring systems and shooters and shooting baddies. And you've programmed levels as well. So you've learned all of these programming skills. So what we've got to do, like I said before, is you've got to put it all together. It's time to design our very own computer game. So for it to be a successful computer game for this particular Year 9 project, your game has got to have movement and gravity, needs to have some baddie objects, you need to have a shooter and some scoring system. It needs to have at least 2 levels, could have plenty more if you want. And of course it needs to have a scrolling background. So we saw that in lesson 1 where we've got 2 sprites that act like the land. They move to the left, and as soon as they go off the screen too far on the left, they then get put round to the right hand side, and that continues to make it look like we are moving across the screen. So it needs to make sure that we've got all of those particular gaming elements. So what I want you to do first of all is I want you to really think about what your game is going to be about, and I want you to write that down on your design cover sheet. I want you to think about a theme for your game. Where is it going to be set? Is it going to be underwater? Is it going to be in space? And I want you to think about all of those different gaming elements that have got to be in your game. For example, movement and gravity, shooting, scrolling backgrounds. And I want you to write down, whereabouts they're going to be in your game. And then I want you to really think about what you've learned over the last few lessons. I want you to think about how you've coded scrolling backgrounds, how you've coded movement, and I want you to jot down some notes that are going to help you, perhaps even some example blocks of code, some example scripts that you've used in previous lessons, because when we design, we want to make sure that we do all of the groundwork so that when we start building, we've got everything at hand to make it a really simple build. So I want you to complete your cover sheet. And as soon as you've done that, I want you to then start thinking about what your levels are going to look like. I want you to sketch out your levels. I want you to annotate them in detail. I want you to write down, what the different sprites are going to do, how they're going to interact with each other, what the different parts of your levels are going to look like. I want you to really annotate it in detail. Now, what I've tried to do is produce a very quick video of me sketching out a level, so designing a level myself and annotating it, just so that you understand exactly what is expected from this task. Okay, so that example, it wasn't fantastic. I'm not an artist, but hopefully it gives you an idea as to what is expected from this design work in terms of how to sketch out a level and how to annotate it. Do use color. I didn't use color. Color it in, make it look really neat, really professional, and add as much detail as you possibly can. Always think about the idea that if you're going that when you produce your designs, that they are detailed enough to give to someone else so they know exactly how they can then build that game themselves. Now, in terms of assessment criteria for this design work, the gold standard is that your aims and objectives are really clear and they're highly detailed, that coding for different game elements are clearly explained, and example code is given in your design cover sheet so that you've got everything at hand before you start building your game later on, that your sketches are clear and well drawn, that your sketches are annotated and really detailed, and that your design clearly demonstrates progression in player challenge, so it gets harder in level 2. So make it clear what it is in level 2 that's harder for the player than in level 1. Okay, good luck.